Hello, everyone. This is Jim Ograzinski with your Week 11 Screencast video. So, as I mentioned here, our two discussion boards from last week 12 was where you were exploring a topic, and then discussion board 13 is where you located some source material to support your thinking about that topic. Now, taking that material and on to the next discussion boards this week. Remember, now we are working with one focused topic, looking for those articles to support your problem or solution assertion there in your proposal argument. We're moving on and using the same source material to work in discussion board 14. And then the essay analysis is coming up in discussion board 15. So be sure to read pages 13 to 15 in the textbook on how to use and cite source material in text while building the quote hamburger. All right, so discussion board 14 as well. Will just demonstrate your skills in working with the words of others. So if I roll over to the textbook here on page 13 is using and citing sources. And it's important to understand how to use sources correctly so you avoid plagiarism. And I think it's important for everyone to take a few minutes. And here you'll see a YouTube video embedded in on how to use attributive tags and how to cite sources. Here's another video and YouTube video about understanding plagiarism. Both are very good for that specific purpose. I think they run about 4.5 minutes each, and it is well worth your time. So then move on to the principles of citation. We have principle 1, principle 2, and principle number 3. So principle number 1 is where you introduce your sources. This is where we need to know why you selected the source, who the author is, what are the qualifications, how do you go about introducing that particular speaker for the source material. It's important that we know exactly who and why you're using that particular source. So the idea here is once you introduce the speaker, you must also clearly define the ending point of the speaker's words, whether you're quoting or paraphrasing. We have to know where the speaker ends and you pick up the conversation. So you can do that by closing off quotes or using a parenthetical citation here at the end of a sentence. Okay, this principle number 2 will explain how to go about that along with an example here. Right, here's your MLA example. Okay, and then importantly, the cross-reference principle number 3 is an important principle of citation because we must match up authors here and authors on the works cited page that you should construct for your citations. You need to construct for your citations. So we have this one-to-one correlation here. I'll talk more about citation and how to build that works cited page later on, probably in next week's lecture video or this week's lecture video if I have a moment to touch on that. Important here is the quote hamburger. So every time you want to use a quote, you have to consider that the meat of a paragraph, and you want to provide an adequate lead in, a topic sentence to introduce that particular quote. And then more so than that, you have to really provide some analysis, give me the how and the why that quote is supporting your assertion about the seriousness of your problem or the viability of your particular solution. So as you can read through here on your own, the top of the bun, the meat is the quote, and the bottom of the bun, all of it needs to be substantial in order to be effective. And then I provide some verbs to help you introduce some of your quotes or paraphrases using the author to introduce that source, right? If in case you want a refresher on how to build a paragraph, we've got an interesting couple of pages there, but pages 13 to 15 are a must in order to be successful in the discussion boards. So discussion board number 14 is pretty straightforward. I'm asking you to grab 2 quotes from your source material. That's the 3 sources you used for discussion board 13, and build 2 paragraphs using the strategies described in a textbook about your topic. So think of this as pre-writing for your essay draft. In other words, build a quote hamburger within a paragraph. So if you build a good paragraph about one of your source material, let's say it's proving the seriousness of your problem and why it should be solved, that would be a paragraph you can take and use in your first draft, which will be due next week. A second paragraph, same thing. If you build 2 good paragraphs, you're pre-writing. You can use those in your first draft. That's why we're doing these activities. Every discussion board here in this third unit, the proposal unit, will help you build that first draft of your research, I should say, of your proposal argument using your 3 sources. All right. And then we'll get to, I will get to the essay examples in this week's lecture video. Probably cover quite a bit in that video, and we'll talk about that then in the lecture video. So once again, let me get back to the announcements. The 2 boards this week will be boards 14 and 15. Be sure to read 13 to 15 pages in the textbook on how to use insight sources and build your quote hamburger. As always, if you have any questions or issues, please send me an email.